about what kinds of things you want in what parts of town. So we're actually talking about diversity here. We're talking about how do we bring in a gun range that would be in the right place, that would meet the right audience, that would have the support of the community. And the problem is, from what I'm hearing, the community, she talks about the importance of community buy-in. It's not sound like the community, I'm sorry, I'm still talking.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like there's a lot of community buy-in, at least behind us right here.
All right, but we have to know that this building is in a commercially zoned area. When those homes were built, this was a commercial-owned area. So, but I mean, I feel bad that when people moved in, not realizing that it's commercial, but it is commercially zoned for businesses. So he's not in a residential area, he's in a commercially zoned area. Behind him is SAS Electric. You have the whole road of stores on Grand Street.
Which I'm an employee.
Yeah, we have Welsh Industrial, that kind of stuff. The Welsh Industrial was there. You had the big, huge warehouse next door to the 91st Street. So that was basically a commercial area. How the homes got allowed to be built in there back in the 50s and 60s, I don't know.
Okay, let me ask you
Can I
this.
say something?
Okay, well, please be brief, because this is going on and...
All I would say is, I just gonna make it brief. I live in Kingston. 3 years ago, I decided to go to the NRA, where I took the pistol range. What they did, you had to go all the way out of the district. I'm just saying, because, you know, I'm not, she's right, but we had to have proficiency. They also need to be trained, but just take it outside of the city district, okay?
All right, I want to ask you guys this. I mean, one of the things we can do is we can table Rennie's motion here, right? If you guys want more time to look at this, to vet and come back and discuss. Or we can, you want to vote on it?
Because then if it comes, like Neil said, then if it comes out, even if it comes out negative, by the time caucus comes around, if this gets cleaned up,
We had a chance to read it.
yeah, I don't know, there's.
But that's what I want to give you a chance to do. I don't want to, I'm not here
But if
to
we
shut it
vote,
down.
if we vote on it, we can still bring it up in caucus, and so we can still do something there.
And what I see, there's too many restrictions for this city.
But it
So
would
if we
be,
clean that up and.
Well, it's circumstantial.
well, but I think what you're saying is if we voted it out, there's the opportunity to come back and
Right, like
steps through it.
I'm a no vote on that, but it doesn't mean I disagree. I just, there's stuff in here I disagree with.
So
I don't know what
stuff's
he's
gotta
gonna
be
come up
vetted.
with. And then it might, if it cleans everything up to where both sides can live with it, then I'll be happy with that. But right now, I can't feel comfortable.
What happens to other proposals that were put on the table? Because that
We
was the first one, that's where we got with,
could
right?
also vote on those, and they would both go out. So you got your New York State law one that we haven't voted on yet, but we consider. That could go out, this would go out, chances are yours would go out with positive recommendation, this would, chances are, go out with a negative recommendation, and there you have two models.
And then, then it's voted on the floor.
Well,
Or
mine
you get
is
the co-
represented, it's not definitions, it's exemptions. But
Or
go back to
it
Rennie's.
goes to caucus and it gets kicked back, and we step through and we vet.
It's your call, it's the chair.
And now we got two proposals.
Okay,
so
well,
let's
you
vote.
had a motion, you had a second,
Okay.
you had a vote.
Then let's go ahead and vote, we'll take it to caucus, we'll get to caucus, the whole of us will figure out, come back, vet this stuff, get rid of one, go ahead with the other, okay? Steve, you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to make one comment. I'm not going to be voting, obviously, but, I mean, I really think it's necessary. We've had discussions all over the place. There isn't, we keep saying shooting range, shooting. We don't have a definition of it.
Right.
This would be great to have a really precise definition, because it's going to come up time and again, and we said this, we want to do this right.
Yeah.
We don't want to pass a law, amend a law that's as ambiguous as the one that's already there. This is a great idea. Of course, we haven't had time to process all of this. There may be things in here that some of us want, some of us don't want, but I think in principle, this is a great
It's a
idea
framework.
to have such a concise and thorough definition of what a shooting range is. And then we can discuss what should be in there and shouldn't be. That's for another night, but I think it's a great start.
Okay, so let's hold the vote on Rennie's motion. right? I'm gonna read it one last time, and you can sign and vote as you please, right? To adopt the rules and regulations regarding shooting ranges established by the City of Rochester in 2011 in their entirety with the requisite changes, thank you very much, to adapt to Kingston's circumstances. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Okay. So I'm gonna pass this around, Rennie. Those are the yeas. Now, we also have Mary Ann's on the table. Now, we were waiting for Dan to tell us if we take the language she gave, which is to say, take the New York State Penal Code, section
265.20, which is exemptions, or the definitions.
265.20 with exemptions, and put it into the law that we currently have, right? That it got tabled and sent back to us. Is that right, Mary Ann? Am I right in saying that? The law that was yours?
What was mine originally, and she amended.
Okay.
Okay.
The one that got sent back to us.
That was mine, and then this is her amendment.
Okay, so her amendment, if I can have that language, you have that language written down?
That's not what I said.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I'll
So let me just get,
Okay, let her sign that one.
One thing at a time here.
No, 4 pages.
And we'll get this up on the website so that everyone has access to it. Thank you. And can review it.
so, what I was referencing, the Dan had it up there before, was 265.20, the exemptions.
Okay.
And you have it up there, Steve?
Yeah, I have it up here, yeah.
Can I look at that? 'Cause-
Yeah, what's, yeah.
Okay, when you're,
Yeah. It's 265. That's the number.
This is everything that he is, this is the company that's on the
Yeah, I'm fine with that, it's just like, the problem is, if that one goes in, you can guarantee that another one goes in, it's gonna follow the same.
Well, then we have to look at the whole. It is on that here for.
Right, but it's a rules in place,
Here's the-
no
Well,
matter-
this is.
And Dan, I'm just gonna put this in correspondence.
Way, he's not way, it's like, this is the company. All right, I'll try to get it.
One thing too, I was looking up on.
Okay, so-
There's like 7.
All right, I'm listening, go ahead.
what it would be is what was sent back to committee, which was the amendment that Deb wrote to include 265.2 exemptions of the New York State penal law.
So how do I go about, I don't have Deb's amendment in front of me, how do I go about writing that?
Can I ask?
Deb's,
Yes, go ahead.
What are these exemptions?
We better.
It's about.
It's so that the veterans can fire off at funerals.
no,
and-
no.
No.
Oh, no, it's not that?
It's not what it says. It's about, it's anything ranging from, I think what Marion's talking about is section 7B.
Yeah.
But, the
But it- we
exemption
can't-
section is, well, first of all, it relates to its exemptions from the penal law prohibitions against possession of firearms. So it doesn't impact the language that we're dealing with, which is the discharge of firearms. Nobody is saying that people who are licensed to carry, okay, are not allowed to possess weapons at any location in the city of Kingston. If you're licensed to carry, you're licensed to carry. We're talking about the discharge of firearms, and that's a completely different issue. This relates to possession charges, and it's not,
Of an indoor shooting range, it says.
well, it says you are
Yeah.
allowed to possess a weapon at an indoor shooting range.
Right.
That doesn't change the fact that if the indoor shooting range violates the city code, there can't be an indoor shooting range, and so it's not an issue. What we're talking about is whether or not you can discharge a firearm in a location in the city of Kingston. Whether, and that, I know what you're trying to say, but that doesn't do, because you're talking about possession. No one is saying that someone can't go into a building possessing a weapon if they're licensed to carry.
All right, so how do we get to what she wants to say? Right? How do we do it?
7B was the correct one, but
How do we do it?
Well, do you need to get anything to that?
well, I sent this before caucus last month to discuss it, and it, with the addition to Deb's
Right.
amendment,
And I didn't
and I've
get it.
inquired about it many times, and here we are tonight with it, and I didn't get any answers, you know?
I had asked a couple days
You
ago.
want to try to work together and make things, work for the best interest of this community, and when you don't get the information you need,
Well, I mean, our office has repeatedly stated that we don't believe this is applicable to this proposal or this issue that we're discussing. And, we have...
this amendment that Deb wrote?
No, no.
Well, that's what I sent. Tonight, I've sent this 3 or 4 times now, and what I wanted to add to it was possibly the 265.20, but you're telling me that doesn't address what I'm trying to...
And what you're.
Hold on a second, let me just, okay. The language that I just passed you from the Pennsylvania statute, we believe is a cleaner way to accomplish what you are speaking about. I believe that the language that you have proposed, first of all, it's limiting in a way that I don't believe you want to limit it, okay? And I believe that it also is problematic in, I think it's, more ambiguous than it needs to be. The language we're talking about from Pennsylvania clarifies any firearm or non-firearm using blanks discharged in any ceremonial function authorized or approved by the city. So basically, what we're saying is that if they're firing blanks and they have the permission of the city, it's not a violation of the discharge statute. In addition, the entire, again, nature of the discharge involves a bullet or a projectile coming out of the weapon. And if it's being fired, okay, with no projectile, it's not being discharged because nothing's coming out of it.
All right, do we add a noise risk factor in here too?
We already have, we already have noise regulations.
Really, we just add A and D.
Yeah. We just say, if we just take the language from the,
I'm just trying to find,
Right.
So many fingers there.
A and D, basically.
Oh, thank you. Right, yeah, it's chapter 199.
199-3 of the city of Latrobe, and I have no idea what Latrobe is.
Western Pennsylvania, Latrobe.
There you go, Latrobe, okay?
They make it-
Rolling Rock.
Exactly.
Okay, you knew that immediately, didn't you?
I teach college.
So you're saying that if we said any indoor commercial target or practice facility that meets all proper safety
No.
standards?
I'm talking about D in particular. I'm talking about, when you're talking about the ceremonial discharges, when you're talking about, the veterans' funerals, when you're talking about the parades, okay, D accomplishes what you're speaking about, because what it's saying is if they're firing blanks, it's not a problem as long as they have the permission of the city.
But you said it wasn't a firearm, it was a blank, and now Pennsylvania's saying, adding the term blanks into their legislation, so they must think it was a firearm. Otherwise, they wouldn't put that provision for blanks in their law. Seems like you're waving your hand and saying magically blanks.
No,
are
because the
firearms.
Pennsylvania statute also specifically talks about projectiles in their definition of firearm, but in order to be clear and, shall we say, overly cautious, they created a specific exemption that says, if we're talking about the firing of blanks, it's not a violation of the discharge statute.
I think if I walk
Well,
down,
it says non-firearm
Yeah.
as well.
so if I walk down Henry Street shooting off blanks, I'm not getting arrested?
Exactly.
No, if you walk down Henry Street, firing blanks as part of a ceremonial function that's been approved by
The
the
city
city.
approved the ceremonial function if you're doing that.
What if I just dress up like a redcoat?
Then that's not approved by the city.
Well,
matter of
right
fact,
now,
that's treason.
right now, what we have is the 1978 law. So right now, Dan's saying it's not a firearm, but, you know, that just sounds like a...
No, I didn't say it's not a firearm. I said it's not the discharge of a firearm. There's a difference between firing and discharge. If you are firing, you know, if you know, the firing is the gunpowder reaction or the explosion that propels...
People get killed by blanks.
Okay. In any event, the exception you are speaking about, okay, is very clearly codified in Pennsylvania in a legislation. And it makes it very clear that that a discharge in a ceremonial activity that's approved by the city, where there are no projectiles and they're firing blanks, is permissible.
Go ahead.
I'm John Rose Poland. I would disagree with that. I worked at Colony Williamsburg in Virginia, and I worked in the gunsmith shop at Colony Williamsburg in Virginia. And we had militia activities on a regular basis down here. And 2 summers in a row, during the militia musters, firing 18th century muskets, there were accidental discharges during a reload. And in both of those instances, the individual firing, or that was loading the gun, was tattooed. He had particles of burnt and unburnt powder and paper cartridges shot into his skin. And the ramrods were discharged from the gun at the time because they were taping down the load. And there are absolutely projectiles coming out of that gun. They might be, you know, small, but there's burnt and unburnt powder particles, there's paper cartridge particles. Same thing with the cannon discharges that they do during the burning in Kingston. There's absolutely things coming out of that gun. And I think that it would be important to include language in there.
And again, the exception that we are proposing covers that.
All right, just
I would absolutely include that.
Again, any firearm or non-firearm using blanks discharged in any ceremonial function authorized or approved by the city. Very simple.
But Dan, when I wrote my amendment to Deb's amendment, it was to include Deb's amendment and add in the ceremonial function. So when I stated about A here, that's what I meant, because Deb's was no person other than in self-defense or in the discharge or official duty shall fully, I mean, I just read it before. And then it was to add the area of the ceremonial functions as well.
And what we are suggesting as the alternative approach to what Rennie moved and Lynn seconded was Debbie's proposal with this language to substitute for the redlined language that you included in your email, which would be the alternate proposal that would go to caucus, and then you have 2 proposals that either are more comprehensive and more narrowly tailored to, you know, to create restrictions regarding where a shooting range is, or the more open-ended language that Debbie has suggested, which refers back to state regulations and other regulations as being, you know, the controlling factors.
Well, I don't think that this should be dismissed. This is what was sent back to committee, was Deb's amendment, and we haven't even discussed it. Right away,
Well, no one's-
Rochester came in,
well,
and
no
I
one's
think that
dismissed.
this should have been,
There's nothing being dismissed. What Lynn had indicated was that, you know, both proposals can be moved and seconded and referred to the floor with either positive or negative recommendations based upon the vote from the committee.
so Deb's can come back up for a vote right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go, yeah. Because when I specifically wrote the amendment, it also mentioned the guidelines from New York State, OSHA, federal DEC, so I wanted that in there. Because you didn't want anybody just say, I'm gonna open a shooting range in my house, but it doesn't meet the criteria, so we had to be specific to what New York State and the federal government. Don't forget the
Well,
federal
also
government.
this Pennsylvania one is specified, you know, the rules were issued by the federal government and the, you know, we had New York too. I think.
Yeah, but I also had to include OSHA in there because of an indoor range. It's got
Oh,
OSHA, EPA.
So then what I understand to be going on here, let me see if I get this straight, is we're just gonna take your amendment. We're not actually amending anything, or.
No, we're not going to amend her amendment,
Right,
but we're gonna write a committee report to address the veterans.
right, so I'm gonna take what was already on the table,
Right.
rewrite it, vote, and send it out.
Which includes the red.
All right.
I just.
Well,
I just
do
wanna-
you want it, I mean, do you want it to include the red, or do you want it to include the sub D from the Pennsylvania statute?
So we're gonna write it as one and the same or two separate?
The way it would read would be, no person other than in self-defense or in the discharge of official duty shall willfully discharge any species of firearms within the city limits of the city of Kingston, New York, except in an indoor facility designed and constructed as a shooting range pursuant to a site plan approved by the City of Kingston Planning Board and operated in compliance with the laws and regulations of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and the Division of Safety and Health of the New York Department of Labor, and there shall be an exception for any firearm or non-firearm using blanks discharged in any ceremonial function authorized or approved by the City of Kingston.
Does this have to say that it's outdoors? I just wanna make sure.
What?
It doesn't specify.
That any firearm or non-firearm, does it have to be?
There is no, there's nothing in it about indoors or outdoors.
And that also includes.
I know there isn't, I'm asking,
Yeah.
does it need to have?
And that includes starting pistols for races and stuff like
Right.
that. Okay. Just want to be sure, because that was another issue that was brought up.
Does yours indicate the guidelines, rules, and regulations for the federal government as well?
Whatever I put in the
Well, you
original.
just read it, that was-
No, that doesn't include the federal government. The rules and regulations of the federal government always apply. You don't have to restate them,
Okay.
Right,
okay? So basically what,
Pennsylvania did it,
basically what
because
they're
my bill's
talking about
yeah. I
is
know. I mean, that's
up
Pennsylvania.
to labor here,
Uh-huh.
okay? And then substituting that last sentence for D.
Okay, do you want me to write that whole thing out here? Or can I say attached?
You can say that.
Okay, attached and then just write out D.
Attached, no, I will prepare you something in writing to attach to the committee report that will go to caucus, along with the amendment or the adjustments to the Rochester law, and then both of those can go to council.
Okay, so, but they've got a vote here, so I gotta be, are we clear on what we're voting on?
What I just read.
Yeah, what you just read, I'm
So
sorry.
I'm gonna pass this around without the description because Dan's gonna write it,
All right,
okay? So you're essentially signing your name.
but I'll be looking very carefully at caucus.
Okay, all right, so all those in favor of what Dan has just read?
We
on
need
the-
a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, we have, okay,
Did we have a
motion,
Oh, no, we did it earlier, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We did it right at the beginning of the meeting, it was a long time ago. I'm sorry.
right?
Sorry, Lynn, you got it, ignore me.
So all those in favor,
I don't believe there was a motion to accept what I just
Right.
read.
Yeah, it was actually about adding
Right.
the exception.
Yeah.
Right,
We take
that was
that,
the
yeah.
only motion.
So I was wrong.
okay,
You're the
so
majority.
can I have
What's
a
your-
motion? Okay, can I have a second?
I'll second.
May I ask for, may it please be restated?
I'll
Sorry.
read it again. I'll read it again. No person other than in self-defense or in the discharge of official duties shall willfully discharge any species of firearms within the city limits of the city of Kingston, New York, except in an indoor facility designed and constructed as a shooting range pursuant to a site plan approved by the City of Kingston Planning Board and operated in compliance with the laws and regulations of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, Division of Health and Safety, Division of Safety and Health of the New York Department of Labor, except that any firearm or non-firearm, except an exception will be provided for any firearm or non-firearm, such as a rifle or long gun, using blanks discharged in any ceremonial function authorized or approved by the City of Kingston.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? No. Okay, so I'm gonna pass it around. I have signed one last matter,
Bill, what was your vote?
I go yes.
and here's the B part. One last matter. and that is Commissioner of Deeds. This is kind of a last-minute addition, but it's important because apparently if we don't act on this evening, police cannot take depositions. They are qualified as Commissioner of Deeds. And I spoke to Steve Mayor Noble briefly about this today, and we also have a letter from Jeremy Glaber asking to be appointed to Commissioner of Deeds. And the argument was that the sort of criteria to be a Commissioner of Deeds, only those should be appointed who are elected officials, or to perform certain functions for the city, like police officers who would need to be able to assess the truthfulness of deeds.
You know what he can do? If he really wants to do it, take the notary course and become a notary.
So did everybody get one of these that were distributed fairly last
Send me
minute?
right-
So this would be the proposal for those who would be Commissioner of Deeds.
That's impossible.
Yeah.
You can look at mine.
And you can take a peek here just to make sure, you know, that you feel comfortable. These are, am I right in saying this, Dan? These are all people who either work for the city.
The list as it stands now are people who work for the city or public officials.
So for example, aldermen are listed on here.
Is Jeremy a convicted felon?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying, if
He
he's
can't
sincere.
become a notary.
He is not on here. He's not on the list.
I'm not on the list. Listen, nobody has said that Jeremy, okay, for clarification, nobody at this table has said Jeremy was a convicted felon. Helen said Jeremy was a convicted felon, and that has nothing to do with this discussion. The list is being limited to public officials and, you know, other employees of the city who have to exercise their responsibility as Commissioner of Deeds in the course of their employment, i.e. police officers.
I don't think that's how the original list for the Commissioner of Deeds was established.
It's not. This is a new list being proposed by the mayor with those limitations.
And the limitations therefore would not be partisan. In other words, you couldn't be appointed as a political favor. The idea is that the list should be principled. You're either an elected official or you're working for the city. Yeah.
Yeah, used to be the registrar, city clerk, deputy city clerk, I don't see them listed, and also people from the housing authority used to be on it.
The city clerk has contacted all of the department heads and all of the individuals and asked which of their employees they want on the list, and this was the response that she
I gotta say that again.
They're not on there.
Right.
The city clerk doesn't want to be listed as Commissioner of Deeds.
Carly is listed on here, she absolutely
The
is.
deputy city clerk,
What's that?
the registrar, they're there?
Deeds not on here. Or she doesn't want.
Dee prepared the list, Bernie.
Oh, okay.
Is that an individual thing, or can you have multiple commissioners?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Is it one person who's the commissioner, or can you have a bunch of them?
It's not that kind of.
There are about 100 of
I
them.
see it again.
Yeah, I question some people missing on that list.
Yeah, I don't think it's complete at all.
Oh, yeah, all these employees of the city,
Employees or elected officials.
or elected officials, all of them?
That's my understanding.
No, it's not.
It's deficient.
It's an unpaid position?
If there's no pay.
Not really a position.
If we don't pass on it tonight, there is an issue with the police department.
Well, the time is of the
One
essence
issue
because
with
the
the police
petition
department.
process starts next month.
Yep.
We could,
And
See, I think there are people missing.
Yeah.
There-
So this is
Bring them
supposed to be
before we can
elected
amend it, yeah.
officials and employees of the city? That's what this-
Elected officials and employees of the city who need to use their Commissioner of Deeds power in the course of their
Right.
employment.
So is the mayor supposed to be on there?
It's a lot of people on this list.
He's not.
Because he's not on
The
here.
mayor's not on here.
Who appoints the commissioner of deeds?
Council.
Well, you can
Can anybody
request,
answer that question?
request to be put on the list.
That the mayor's not on here?
Because he doesn't have to, well, I mean, because there's no reason why he needs to be.
He's an elected official.
He can't appoint himself as well. I mean, I don't believe,
And their
this was
position,
the list that was provided to us through the mayor's office for, you know, 85 to 90% of them are police officers who
Yeah,
need,
they're gonna-
who need to, you know, authorize depositions, you know, in the course of criminal complaints.
I
So-
will put that up on the website as well.
So what we,
That list.
saying with the, I'm sorry,
And
with the
there-
police, why is it a time of the essence with the police?
If we don't get it signed, then they're not gonna be able to do certain things, like they're not gonna be able to patrol in the July 4th weekend.
Right.
Take deposition of the July 4th weekend.
Yeah,
Why?
so it would be chaos.
Because I guess they need to be certified, well, again.
Because their commissioner of deeds authority would expire on June 30th, and you're not meeting, I believe, until July 6th.
7.
Whatever it is, you know, so there's a week there where you have
Meeting June,
an
right.
entire police department that is not, you know, authorized to perform a function that they need to perform.
what I don't see here is the positions of all these people, because I want to see if there's some non-essential employees that put in there. That, you know, might affect an opportunity for someone else to get. You got,
I think the issue is, I think as a formal matter, you're not allowed at the table.
years. Okay.
That's very polite.
I just pulled over here to look at the list, and I noticed that there's no position. Just their
She
name.
means you guys should go away from the table and talk.
There was no position on there, and I would like to see that. It would be more transparent, that I could be able to tell if you have unessential employees as on the list, it would be indiscriminate. So, could I get provided with their positions?
Okay, I will send that request back to the mayor's office.
I think it makes sense to list.
Okay, all those,
Yeah.
Are you under S?
Just minutes.
all those in favor of accepting the list, say aye.
Aye.
All those against,
I just,
abstaining? I'm sorry, at this point I forget who, I think you motion?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, if you need, you want to ride tomorrow?
yeah,
Sorry, keep going to
I don't see anybody on here, yeah.
Finance, you come to that. I hear that.
I'll call you if I do.
I recognize the police officer, no, that's good.
Only if they've been to your house.
So like I said, 85 to 90% of them are just the police officers.
Yeah, I know
This
this
is the attached list are all to review. And with that, any other business you'd like to raise? Joe?
You will provide me with a list of.
I will request, whether the mayor will do that, I can't say, but I will put the list up on the website.
That's what
I think that is a good request, even for the officers to have the.
Yeah, I want their affiliation with the city, right? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
You
it's a
want to
good
know what
idea.
they do.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do, because I thought we had in the past or something, or I just knew.
I will ask.
Because like the,
Well, it should be public information. I mean, you shouldn't get confused. I mean, it should be foilable, it should be.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right,
You
then
know.
I'll make sure I wonder, I bet I can just ask Carly in that, maybe
Well, I
that's.
think their affiliation with the city is necessarily fit.
I think every one of them are done.
Are there any other issues you guys want to address?
Well, the Memorial Day, we're going to meet again. We have a memorial celebration at City Hall. I don't know, we're going to get in just in time, but we have a ceremony at City Hall. Memorial Day, so it's really good that we go. And then there's a parade afterwards.
Yeah.
That's on the Monday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's at City Hall. They have a ceremony, and
Okay.
then the parade takes off.
So Deb's just reminding us, Memorial Day,
May 30th.
May 30th, a ceremony here for Memorial Day, and then a parade.
What time is it?
Yeah.
I think it's 1 o'clock, I think they,
Usually kicks off a lot.
yeah, well, they have the ceremony first and the parade kicks off after, it's like about 1:45, I think.
So it's part of the perks.
Yeah, you get to walk. I got to ride an antique car last time, it was quite nice. Yeah.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
And we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.